Good evening. My name is CandiElliott. The subject for my speech tonight is addiction. The purpose of my speech is to inform my audience of two very different sides or approaches to addiction and of its origin. When you think of the word addiction, do you believe it to be a disease or a choice? By definition, as stated in the Merriam-Webster dictionary, addiction is a compulsive physiological need for the use of a habit-forming substance such as cocaine, alcohol, or tobacco. Psychology today expands that definition to non-substance needs such as shopping, food, internet, and work. Today we're going to look at two contrasting approaches that will hopefully help us to better understand or to decide if addiction is in fact a disease or merely a choice. The cleanslate.org posted an argument with NIDA, which is the National Institute on Drug Abuse, whose claim is that addiction is a product of a disease or a dysfunctional brain. Various medical studies argue this point, stating that in side-by-side scans of a healthy human's brain to that of an addict, initially there are no differences. It's at the onset and the continual use of the substance that creates the irregularity or the altered state of an addict's brain. Medical research also states that by definition, things like cancer and diabetes are considered to be diseases. This being because it's the body being in a state of abnormal physiological functioning, and that these people cannot merely stop their symptoms and walk away from the diseases. They have to seek medical attention and medications to sustain life. This isn't the case for an addict. There's no supported evidence that there is any physiological malfunction of a person's body to create an addiction. The Huffington Post featured an article written by Johann Hari, who is an author of the book Chasing the Scream, and it told of a study that was being performed with lab rats. The first study took individual rats, just one, placed it in a cage with the substance, such as cocaine, and after a duration of time, through anxiety, separation, loneliness, depression, the rat consumed the cocaine until ultimately it died. Coincidentally, they also put a group of rats in a cage and created what they called a rat park with healthy food, water, toys, and the cocaine in addition, and none of these rats touched the cocaine. They flourished, they interacted, they seemed to be happy. So this also was taking place actually during during the Civil War, and it was noted at that time that 20% of our American soldiers were addicted to heroin. Heroin was very easy to come by, and our soldiers became addicted because of similar situations such as the rat test, where they were isolated, lonely, depressed. But they found that in returning home, better than 95% of these soldiers simply quit the addiction. They returned back to their families, to their lifestyles. They were no longer lonely, depressed, and they were able to just quit the addicting drug without virtually any help, if any at all, from any type of rehabilitation or support help. But why were the 20% addicted to begin with? According to studies at the University of Utah, genes may very well have an effect or an influence on an addiction. But because our genes are so complex, by nature, scientists believe that they'll never find just a single gene that points to addiction. However, they have noted that gene variations between healthy people and those who are addicts are different. And that, coupled with environments and the factors of which they are surrounded by, can create a susceptibility to addictions in an individual. Therefore, research showing addiction is in fact influenced by genes. In conclusion, we now know that addiction is a compulsive need for the use of a habit-forming substance, or the need for non-substance gratification, received by gambling, food, shopping, as we spoke of earlier. We have reviewed one study whose claim is that addiction is a choice. There are no documented abnormalities or physiological dysfunctions causing addiction. On the other hand, studies have shown that genes are in fact varied or differentiated from an addict to a healthy person. From this information, can we intellectually conclude that in fact addiction is a disease or a choice? Thank you for watching. Good night.